Hey everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Bridezilla. For today's video, I picked 3 stories that are great. One about a very spoiled bridezilla, one about a really bad friend that you'll tell me if it's a bridezilla or not, and one about a bridesmaid who really wanted the spotlight. So let's get going with that first story. This one is from Stepmom Woes. Some backstory. I am 32, my husband is 37. We have been married 10 years and have twin sons together. My husband also has a daughter, 20 years old, from a relationship in high school. He doesn't speak to his daughter's mother anymore, and she hasn't been in either of their lives for a very long time. I helped raise my stepdaughter and I love her, but she was an only child for a very long time and my husband gave her the princess treatment. She had a tendency to act very spoiled when she was younger, but mostly grew out of that after moving out at 18. My husband and I both have well-paying full-time jobs, but I've been the primary breadwinner for the majority of our relationship. I also have a sizable inheritance from my grandfather, which we use to buy our home, pay for our son's daycare, etc. Last April, my stepdaughter got engaged. My husband and I were both very happy for them, and for our wedding gift, we offered to help finance her wedding plans. They were supposed to get married this August, but the chosen venue told us they'd either have to reschedule to next year or change their guest list to less than 50 people, and that everyone would have to wear masks. The original wedding was 200 guests. Stepdaughter asked if my husband and I could pay for a different venue she found that would be available in October. I already paid a very large, non-refundable deposit for the original venue, plus extra for open bar services that would be provided. We told her no, she'd have to wait like the other brides who had to postpone, and waiting another year won't be so terrible. The venue offered to reschedule with no extra expense for end of August 2021. We'd still have gotten all we'd paid for, assuming it wouldn't need to be cancelled again. Stepdaughter was furious and apparently very impatient to get married. Without consulting me or my husband first, she cancelled the venue, caterer, florist, and photographer. My husband and I paid 100% for the deposits on pretty much all the vendors. The only thing she paid for out of pocket was her dress and the band. I was sick of her little tantrum and told her she'd need to find someone else to help pay for what she wanted, because she wasn't going to get a penny more from me unless it was for cab fare to the courthouse to elope, because that's the wedding she deserved for being ungrateful. She has since called their dad sobbing multiple times, apologizing and begging for a second chance. I called all the people she cancelled and they were mostly understanding, and a few offered to renew the contracts she terminated. I said no and have cut my losses on this issue, which my husband disagrees with and says I'm being too harsh. I told him I would no longer enable stepdaughter's bratty behavior, and if he wanted to pay, he could use his own income. Mine paid for over 60% of the wedding costs. I'm just treating her the same way I treat my boys. If you break a toy on accident, you have to wait to get it replaced. Money doesn't grow on trees. If you break a toy in a tantrum or because you were doing something bad, it's not replaced at all. Learn to live without it and to apologize. She never said crap for an apology to me, just her father. That's a spoiled brat move because she knows he's going to bend to her more easily. Kids should be taught the value of money and consequences for actions young. She didn't have to postpone married life, she had to postpone a wedding. You can still be legally married without a ceremony and have one later. The idea that a wedding is the most important part of a marriage is bull. A wedding being a special day and something almost sacred is not one I am a fan of. Mine was lovely, but it was a small ceremony at a church with limited guests and a slightly bigger reception at my mother-in-law's home. My cake was made by a family friend and my dress was clearance. Dream wedding? Not by any means, but I was 22 and had students' debt to worry about and almost no financial help. I was just happy to be married and start a new chapter of my life. The wedding should not be the most special part of your marriage. This culture of it being some big glamorous to-do is tiring. I offered to pay because it's what she wanted and I thought it would be a good gift. This stepmom is right in so many accounts. Yes, a wedding shouldn't be the most important part of a marriage. Totally agree. Children should understand the value of money. Not to be materialistic, but to understand the value of hard work. And especially the fact that you should never reward a tantrum. You nip that in the bud. Unfortunately, in this case, the stepdaughter is a full-grown adult that still behaves like a 3-year-old. But then again, that's just my opinion. And so we can now move on to the next story. This one is from user Minority Throwaway. So, my friend Josie has been with her boyfriend for 15 plus years. I've known Josie for almost 6 years and we've been really close, despite there being a significant age gap in our relationship. Josie and her boyfriend are tying the knot, but it's more of a formality. They already live together, have kids, own a house, etc. So instead of a big extravagant wedding, they're renting a mansion to host like 15-ish people including myself. They're getting married on the property and we're going to party there. There's a pool and it's on the water, so there will be plenty of fun stuff to do. In lieu of wedding gifts, they just want everyone to contribute to lodging. The price isn't outrageous once you factor in how much a destination wedding costs, but still, it's pricey. So Josie has a friend, Melody, that she's gotten really close with in the past 3 years. They're about the same age and both have daughters. Their relationship is at times a frenemy relationship. She also has a girlfriend from work who she's close with named Valerie. They've worked together for 2 years or so. Valerie and Josie have been planning the wedding weekend. Well, when I had lunch with Josie, she showed me the invite list and my name wasn't on it. When I asked her about it, she said it was an oversight and of course I'd be there. I asked why 3 of the girls had stars by their names, and she said that those were the bridesmaids. It was Valerie, Melody, and her younger sister along with the groom's 2 brothers and Melody's husband. I asked if I was going to be her bridesmaid and she said I wasn't because Melody was more sensitive than me and she'd feel some kind of way about it. I asked why Valerie was one and she said Valerie is helping her plan it, so it seemed right. I decided to let this go until she showed me the plan of the house and I realized there wasn't enough rooms. I asked her who was doubling up and she said no one. I'd be sleeping on the couch or bunking with the children because I didn't have a +1 and all the couples were together. I told her not to worry about me, that I'd just get a hotel room on my own so I didn't have to bunk with 10-year-old girls and a toddler. She said she couldn't get married without me and I'd have to be there with them, and I said clearly, you can get married without me. Valerie and Melody think I'm being too sensitive and that I'm ruining the wedding. But why would I pay to sleep on a couch? Ouch. Apparently one of the bride's oldest friends is really getting the short end of the stick on this one. But let's not get carried away with the commentary and move straight on to the update. I'll be honest, I made excuses for Josie. I came up with every excuse in the book to justify her behavior. Josie literally took me in when my boyfriend and I broke up. She let me stay rent-free for months and stayed up with me as I cried. I was there for her when she and her fiancé broke up for a period of time. I didn't want to believe she was a terrible friend. There was no way I would miss her wedding. So I went over to her house and asked all the tough questions. I asked why did the kids get a room, who did the floor plan, why wasn't I on the list? I asked her at which point did Melody become higher than me in the totem pole. Around the time that she met Melody, I had just gotten hired by my first airline and became a flight attendant, which was my lifelong dream. She said that I left a void in not only her heart, but her family's too. She said Melody really stepped up and was there for her. I told her that as my friend, instead of recasting me, she should have been supporting me. Not to mention that every time I tried to hang out with her, she was with Melody and her family. Why would I third wheel 2 families, especially a family in which my best friend has been bad-mouthing? Anyway, she had great answers to every question. We had an Oprah moment, we laughed, we cried, we drank white wine. It was perfect. I had my best friend back. It was a misunderstanding. She said she'd add me to the wedding planning group chat, and she said although I wasn't a bridesmaid, it was a dumb, meaningless title, and I knew in my heart where her loyalty was. I was at peace until I went home and logged into Facebook and saw that another girl, Alexandra, who I also know very well, tagged Melody, Valerie, and Josie in a post saying that she'd booked tickets for their last girls fling before the real thing. I was freaking mad. I asked Josie about it and she said she had to make Alexandra a bridesmaid because she told her she'd be flying into the state for her wedding with her long-term boyfriend. She purposely kept that crap from me because she knew I'd be livid. I asked immediately where they'd be sleeping and she said, well, you already wanted to stay in a hotel, right? Then I asked her who was supposed to be the nanny, and apparently there was an implication that everybody would step up and do something for the trip. Apparently, no one was gonna get dumped with the kids. When I was in the group text, Melody, Valerie, and Alexandra had a separate one going with some things they were gonna surprise Josie with. And so someone decided that I would be in charge of the baked goods and setting up the bar for the weekend. I was beyond angry. I called her every freaking name in the book and hung up. I got blasted drunk and cried myself to sleep. I woke up the next morning with texts and a hangover. She begged me to come to her office that morning, so I did. I hoped she'd apologize and make things right, but instead, she asked if I could pick up her toddler from daycare because she was stuck. I literally laughed and walked right the F out. About an hour later, I got texts from Melody, Valerie, and Alexandra saying that if I were really her friend, I would suck it up and sleep on the couch. I told them where they could put the couch. I called my real friends and we had lunch and got mani-pedis. F the wedding, F Josie and the Pussycats, I'm unbothered. That must have been a horrible reality to come to terms with. That your best friend of 6 years just treated you that way. Not only was she supposed to be the no one to take care of the kids the whole weekend, but also get the baked goods and set up the bar? And to sleep on the couch and pay for all of this? No way. OP, you did right. Yes, Josie was your friend and she was there for you at some point, but something changed along the way and she turned into a toxic friendship that you just really did not need to keep. Good on you for getting rid of it. On a side note, I did like the Josie and the Pussycats reference. That was a cartoon I did watch when I was a kid. But that's neither here nor there. Alright, now let's move on to the final story. This one is from user Leon Almalzi. So, back in the before times of January 2020, when you could go to parties, I was invited as a +1 to a wedding. The guest, my friend Jen, not a real name, had asked if I wanted to go with her to her cousin's wedding. Her cousin is the bride. She's a great person, but not very comfortable in big crowds. I was told this was a 250-person wedding and she needs the support. I had nothing planned for the day, plus it was free food and cake, plus Jen is my friend, so I agreed. The wedding went great in my opinion, as well as any wedding can be when you don't know the bride or groom. The officiant went through their speech, bride and groom exchanged rings, families cried, and the two were married. Happy times. Ceremony finishes without a hitch. It's the reception where things got messy. It was held in this park lodge overlooking a frozen lake. Dinner was served and Jen and I made conversation with the people at our table. Then comes the clinking of glasses. The wedding party are going to make their speeches. And since there's like 250 people in this place, there's a microphone so that everyone can hear. The groomsmen and bridesmaids make speeches on how they know the groom and bride respectively until it comes to one of the bridesmaids. I'll call her Kaylee simply because her real name is like Kaylee in that her parents gave her an uncommon spelling of a common name, one that a Starbucks barista would unintentionally misspell and get yelled at for misspelling. If memory serves me, she was one of the bride's friends from college who, because of her closeness, stands on the outskirts of the bride's family. An honorary family member, if you will. Kaylee's speech is more of the same. How she knows the bride and how she is so happy for her and groom marrying and how lovely of a couple they make. So far, so good. Here's how she ends it, or at least how I remember it. Kaylee says, "I'm so happy for the two of them, and because we are here celebrating love, I wanted to let everyone know something great." Pauses for dramatic effect. "My boyfriend proposed last night and I said yes, we are getting married too." There is silence after she says this. Kaylee probably expected a cheer or a congratulation or something for her news, not silence. As I was looking around, there are looks of anger and contempt at the bridesmaid who is trying to hijack the reception. I'm pretty sure they had the same thought I had. Who the hell does this woman think she is? Kaylee continues, "So get ready to mark your calendars." She adds a little giggle as if she made a funny joke. This is where all hell breaks out. The guests start booing Kaylee, throwing napkins and dinner rolls at her. She starts crying, asking why people aren't happy for her until she is escorted out by who I assume was her fiancé. From what I remember, the bride and groom disappear as well while the event staff cleans up the mess. The bride and groom come back and apologize for the disruption. Neither of them condoned her announcing her engagement and would like to get back on track. Once dinner is done, there's dancing and cake cutting, and soon all is forgotten. I'm happy to have gone, if only for the fact that I have a great story to tell. Except it doesn't end there. Kaylee apparently wanted the last word, so according to my friend who heard it from her cousin, she decides to vague post about it on social media. Kaylee posted, "I was at the wedding of one of my dearest friends, celebrating love, and I was kicked out. Her and groom's family threw stuff at me. I've never been so scared in my life, and bride and groom couldn't even bother apologizing to me for what their family did. I'm going to have to reevaluate my friendships." Initially, she was getting sympathy from her followers. However, someone from the wedding party had posted a video of her announcing her engagement at the reception. That's when public opinion turned on Kaylee again. Accusations of how she could announce her engagement at someone's wedding, calling her an attention W, they were out for blood. She deleted the post, but people wrote on her wall calling her awful names for what she did, so inevitably deactivated her account. And it didn't end there. From what I heard, she also got phone calls from people asking how she could do that to someone she considered a friend. I'm pretty sure many of her friends are no longer speaking to her. Now, I believe that kicking her out of the reception was justified, and so was posting the video on her social media. But the harassment did go too far, even if she was a total B for stealing bride and groom's thunder. She wanted attention so bad that she got it in the worst way possible. Wow, how many times have we heard the story of someone so ridiculously dumb that they think that announcing their engagement at somebody else's wedding is actually a good idea? There is no good reason, there is no reason for you to do that at all. End of discussion. And well, just like OP said, she wanted attention, she got it. Just not the kind she wanted, I guess. And so, we've once again reached the end of the video. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, go ahead and click like. And of course, like always, I invite you to join this community and just click subscribe. And don't forget to also go to the Lost Genre subreddit, where you can cross-post stories that you'd like me to feature in videos, or share your own if you'd like me to do so as well. And having said all that, I will see you guys on the next video.